The air inside the grand ballroom of the New York Marriott Marquis buzzed with anticipation as hundreds gathered for the International Peace and Dialogue Summit, a high-profile event dedicated to fostering global cooperation and resolving conflicts through open discussion. Tulsi Gabbard, with her composed demeanor and genuine smile, stepped into the aisle, unexpectedly drawing whispers from the crowd as she made her way toward the stage. The room was illuminated by soft chandeliers and sharp stage lights, creating a warm yet intense atmosphere where faces glowed with hope and determination. At the center of it all stood Hillary Clinton, her voice ringing out with authority and passion as she addressed the audience about the urgent need for collaborative efforts to address worldwide tensions. Her tailored suit and confident gestures punctuated her words, emphasizing how unity across borders could lead to lasting solutions, and the crowd responded with nods and murmurs of agreement. Delegates from various nations sat in rows, their lanyards swaying as they leaned forward, while journalists in the back captured every moment on their devices. The energy was electric, a shared sense of purpose, uniting everyone in the belief that dialogue could bridge divides. But then Tulsi's presence shifted the dynamic. She raised a hand politely, her expression calm and approachable, as if she were joining a casual conversation rather than interrupting a major speech. Secretary Clinton Tulsi began her tone respectful yet firm, carrying a natural warmth that cut through the hum of the room. "I couldn't help but overhear your call for cooperation. May I have just 1 minute to share a thought on how true listening can build real peace?" The audience stirred some chuckling at her boldness, others frowning in confusion as phones began to rise, screens glinting in the dim light. Hillary paused mid-sentence, her brow furrowing slightly as she processed the unscripted intrusion, her grip tightening on the podium for a brief moment before she composed herself. The crowd's murmurs grew a mix of curiosity and disapproval rippling through the seats. A young diplomat in a sharp blazer whispered to his colleague, "Who let her in like this?" while an activist near the front clutched her notebook, intrigued by the sudden twist. Hillary's eyes locked onto Tulsi, her voice steady but edged with firmness as she replied, "This is a structured forum for planned discussions, not impromptu additions. You're not on the agenda." Her words drew applause from her supporters who waved signs reading, "Unity through action," their faces showing solidarity and a touch of defiance. Yet Tulsi remained unfazed, standing in the aisle with poise, her hands clasped gently as she embodied a sense of quiet strength. The tension thickened the room, holding its breath, as security personnel in black suits moved toward her, from the edges, their earpieces buzzing with instructions. Whispers turned to louder comments. A man in a tweed jacket called out, "Let her speak for a second," only to be countered by a woman nearby shouting, "Stick to the program, Tulsi." Sensing the guards approaching, raised her hands in a peaceful gesture, her smile never fading, as if inviting the entire gathering to pause and reflect. "I'm not here to disrupt," she said, her voice warm and steady, like someone sharing wisdom at a community gathering. "Just 1 minute to talk about the power of genuine dialogue in achieving the peace we're all seeking." Her words carried a sincerity that resonated, causing a few audience members to nod instinctively, drawn in by her approachable charm. The guards hesitated, glancing between Hillary and Tulsi as the crowd's energy fractured further, some clapping in support of Tulsi's request, others rallying behind Hillary's control of the event. Hillary, no stranger to handling unexpected challenges, weighed her options quickly. Denying Tulsi outright might portray her as unwilling to engage a risk in a summit focused on dialogue. After a brief pause, she nodded curtly, her expression resolute. "Fine, 1 minute. Make it meaningful." She stepped back slightly, signaling the security to stand down, and the room exhaled collectively, phones still recording as anticipation built. Tulsi nodded gratefully, her eyes scanning the audience with genuine warmth as she began to speak from the aisle, her presence commanding attention without needing the stage. "Thank you," she said humbly, her tone inviting and inclusive. "I've seen firsthand how conflicts can be eased when we truly listen to one another, not just speak at each other." She shared a simple anecdote about a cross-cultural exchange where mutual respect turned potential adversaries into allies, her words flowing naturally, painting vivid pictures that made the abstract concept of peace feel tangible and achievable. The crowd grew quieter, leaning in as her message unfolded. An older gentleman in the third row smiled, whispering to his neighbor, "She's got a point there," while a group of students in the back exchanged glances, one muttering, "This is refreshing." Tulsi's charisma was subtle, yet powerful, her emphasis on empathy and understanding striking a chord in a room full of people dedicated to harmony. Even skeptics found themselves considering her perspective, as her brief speech highlighted how small acts of listening could lead to broader breakthroughs in international relations. Applause started sporadically building as more joined in, not overwhelming, but enough to show her impact. Hillary watched from the podium, her composure intact, but the shift in the room's atmosphere was undeniable. Tulsi had turned a potential ejection into a moment of connection. The journalists typed furiously, sensing a story unfolding, while social media began to light up with initial posts about the unexpected exchange. Tulsi wrapped up exactly on time, her voice steady as she concluded, "Let's commit to that kind of dialogue for real progress." She stepped back gracefully, allowing the focus to return to the stage, but her words lingered, sparking quiet discussions among the attendees. The summit, intended as a platform for structured talks, now carried an added layer of spontaneity thanks to Tulsi's poised intervention. As Hillary resumed her address, reinforcing the need for actionable strategies in global cooperation, the audience remained engaged, but Tulsi's brief appearance had injected a fresh energy, reminding everyone of the human element in diplomacy. The chandeliers continued to cast their glow, but the room felt more alive, a testament to how one voice delivered with authenticity could influence a gathering of minds focused on peace. Whispers persisted as people processed the moment, a blend of admiration for Tulsi's courage and respect for Hillary's leadership, setting the stage for what would become a memorable highlight of the event. Tulsi, still in the aisle, exchanged nods with a few supporters, her demeanor humble yet impactful, embodying the very principles she advocated. The security guards retreated to the walls, their intervention averted, as the summit pressed on with renewed vigor. In that grand ballroom, amid the sea of faces and ideas, Tulsi's one-minute stand had planted seeds of thought, encouraging attendees to reflect on how true listening could transform conflicts into opportunities for unity. The air hummed with possibility, the crowd's reactions a mosaic of intrigue and inspiration, as the International Peace and Dialogue Summit evolved in unexpected ways. Delegates shifted in their seats, some jotting notes on Tulsi's ideas, while others reaffirmed their alignment with Hillary's call for concrete steps. The event's organizers exchanged glances from the sidelines, noting the buzz as phones captured snippets that would soon spread beyond the room. Tulsi's approach, rooted in genuine engagement, contrasted yet complemented the summit's themes, highlighting her as a figure of positive influence without overshadowing the collective goal. As the minutes ticked by, the initial tension gave way to a deeper appreciation for diverse voices, making the gathering not just about speeches, but about the interactions that define true dialogue. The ballroom's elegance, with its high ceilings and ornate details, seemed to amplify the moment, turning a simple interruption into a pivotal exchange that would resonate long after the lights dimmed. Attendees from different backgrounds found common ground in Tulsi's message, whispering agreements that bridged their differences, while Hillary's steadfast presence ensured the agenda remained on track. This blend of spontaneity and structure captured the essence of what the summit aimed to achieve: peace through understanding and action combined. Tulsi's role in that brief as it was left an indelible mark, her calm advocacy inspiring those present to consider how they too could foster better connections in their own spheres. The crowd's energy, once unified, now carried a richer texture, woven with threads of Tulsi's insightful contribution, promising that the discussions ahead would be all the more meaningful. As Hillary delved deeper into her points on global partnerships, the room settled, but the echo of Tulsi's words lingered like a gentle reminder, enhancing the summit's impact on all who were there. The chandeliers twinkled overhead, casting patterns on the floor that mirrored the complex interplay of ideas below, where Tulsi's positive presence had sparked a subtle but significant shift toward greater openness. Journalists in the press area leaned forward, their cameras focused, capturing the nuanced reactions that spoke volumes about the power of respectful intervention. A young attendee, inspired by Tulsi, turned to her friend and said softly, "That was eye-opening. Makes you think about how we handle disagreements." The response was a nod, underscoring how Tulsi's moment had humanized the high-stakes topics at hand. Security personnel, now idle, observed the scene with neutral expressions, their earlier march halted by the force of dialogue itself. The summit's program continued, but Tulsi's brief spotlight had elevated it, turning potential conflict into a demonstration of the very peace it sought to promote. Whispers of impressive and thought-provoking floated through the air, affirming Tulsi's role as a catalyst for positive reflection. The grand ballroom, filled with the scent of fresh flowers and the soft rustle of programs, became a microcosm of global potential, where one person's composed voice could inspire many. As the chapter of this unexpected encounter unfolded, it set the tone for deeper explorations of harmony, with Tulsi's grace at its heart. The audience, diverse in their views, found a shared appreciation for her approach, blending seamlessly with the summit's mission. Hillary's speech regained momentum, her points on collaborative frameworks resonating anew against the backdrop of Tulsi's emphasis on listening. This interplay enriched the event, making it more than a series of talks. It became a living example of dialogue in action. Tulsi, having stepped back, watched quietly, her satisfaction evident in her serene expression, knowing her words had landed where they needed to. The room's atmosphere, charged yet harmonious, reflected the summit's core ideals, amplified by Tulsi's timely and positive contribution. Delegates exchanged business cards during a brief pause, some referencing Tulsi's ideas as icebreakers, fostering connections that might not have formed otherwise. The stage lights highlighted the podium, but the true illumination came from the spark Tulsi had ignited, encouraging everyone to embrace empathy in their pursuits of peace. As the summit progressed, the memory of that 1 minute lingered, a testament to how authenticity can bridge gaps and inspire collective progress. The grand ballroom's walls seemed to absorb the energy, holding on to the positive vibe Tulsi had introduced, ensuring the event's legacy would include her uplifting influence. Attendees left their seats for networking breaks, carrying Tulsi's message with them, ready to apply it in their own efforts toward global understanding. This opening act of the summit, marked by Tulsi's poised appearance, promised a day of meaningful exchanges, where listening became as vital as speaking. The chandeliers continued to shine, symbolizing the light Tulsi had brought to the conversation, her role undeniably positive and transformative in its subtlety. The grand ballroom's energy crackled with a newfound intensity following Tulsi Gabbard's brief but impactful 1-minute address. Her words on the essence of listening in building peace still echoing in the minds of the attendees as Hillary Clinton reclaimed the podium, her voice cutting through the lingering applause with a call for tangible strategies to resolve global conflicts. Tulsi, standing poised in the aisle, didn't retreat immediately. Instead, she nodded graciously to a nearby delegate, who whispered encouragement. Her calm presence allowing the moment to breathe as the crowd's reactions began to diverge more sharply, some clapping vigorously for her fresh perspective, while others rallied behind Hillary's structured approach to international cooperation. Hillary, sensing the shift, leaned into the microphone with measured authority, acknowledging Tulsi's input, but steering back to action-oriented solutions, stating that while dialogue was valuable, true progress demanded concrete policies like multilateral agreements and resource allocation to hotspots around the world, her supporters erupting in cheers as they waved placards emphasizing action for peace, their faces alight with determination. Yet Tulsi, with her unwavering composure, responded softly but clearly when a murmur from the audience prompted her sharing another real-world insight about how empathetic conversations in divided communities had led to unexpected alliances, her tone infused with authenticity that made her stories feel relatable and inspiring, drawing nods from a cluster of international observers in the middle rows who had traveled far to attend. The room divided further with a young woman in a hijab standing to voice support for Tulsi, saying aloud that such personal approaches could humanize diplomacy in ways formal talks often missed, only for a seasoned diplomat nearby to counter that Hillary's emphasis on enforceable frameworks was the real path forward, sparking a wave of back-and-forth whispers that filled the air like a lively debate. Phones lit up across the ballroom as attendees began filming, discreetly capturing Tulsi's follow-up remarks, where she elaborated on how listening actively during tense negotiations had de-escalated potential crises, her gestures open and inviting, embodying the very harmony the summit championed. Hillary, maintaining her poise, interjected with a pointed reminder that without institutional support, individual dialogues risked being fleeting, her words reigniting applause from her core group near the stage, who chanted briefly in solidarity, their energy pushing back against the growing intrigue around Tulsi. But Tulsi's charm persisted, her ability to connect on a human level, evident as she referenced broad examples of cross-border initiatives where mutual understanding had paved the way for lasting accords, causing a man in a business suit to stand and applaud, admitting under his breath to his companion that her viewpoint added a vital layer to the discussion. The security guards lingering at the periphery exchanged uncertain looks, their earlier directive forgotten amid the organic flow of exchange as the crowd's emotions swirled, excitement from those captivated by Tulsi's relatable narratives, frustration from Hillary's staunch allies who felt the agenda slipping. A group of students in the back row, initially there for the summit's formal panels, began debating among themselves, one praising Tulsi's emphasis on empathy as a game-changer in everyday diplomacy, while another defended Hillary's call for systemic reforms as the backbone of sustainable peace. As Tulsi wrapped her extended thoughts, keeping her delivery concise yet profound, the applause swelled again, this time encompassing a broader swath of the audience, including some who had been on the fence, their faces reflecting a mix of surprise and admiration for how she turned a simple request into a bridge-building moment. Hillary responded with grace, conceding the value of personal stories, but reiterating the necessity of global institutions to amplify them, her tone firm yet inclusive, which drew its own round of claps, though the room's vibe had undeniably tilted toward a more dynamic interplay thanks to Tulsi's influence. Whispers turned to audible comments as an activist near the front shared a quick video clip on her phone, the footage of Tulsi's speech, already garnering likes and shares in real time with captions like, "This is what real dialogue looks like," spreading among the attendees' networks. Tulsi, ever humble, stepped slightly aside, but remained engaged, smiling at an elderly gentleman who approached her during a brief pause, thanking her for reminding everyone that peace starts with individual hearts and minds. The chandeliers overhead seemed to cast a warmer glow on the scene, highlighting the facial expressions of intrigue and reflection among the diverse crowd, furrowed brows giving way to thoughtful smiles as people processed Tulsi's positive message. Hillary pressed on with details of proposed international pacts, her expertise shining through. But the interruptions from supportive shouts for Tulsi added layers of interaction, like a woman in professional attire calling out that Tulsi's ideas could complement those frameworks perfectly. The divide wasn't hostile, but vibrant, a living testament to the summit's theme, with Tulsi's role elevating the conversation to feel more accessible and hopeful. As videos circulated, one particularly viral snippet showed Tulsi's anecdote about community-level resolutions racking up views quickly. As attendees forwarded it to colleagues outside the room, comments flooding in about her refreshing honesty. A reporter in the press section typed rapidly, noting how Tulsi's intervention had humanized the high-level talks, her notepad filled with quotes that captured the emotional shifts in the audience. Delegates from different continents exchanged glances, some whispering in their native languages about how Tulsi's approach resonated with their own experiences in conflict zones, fostering a sense of shared inspiration. Hillary, acting seamlessly, wove in a nod to collaborative listening as part of her strategy, which tempered the tension and showed her own adaptability. But it was Tulsi's steadfast positivity that kept drawing eyes back to her spot in the aisle. The ballroom's acoustics amplified every sigh and cheer, creating an immersive experience where personal reactions, a nod here, a skeptical shake of the head there, painted a picture of evolving perspectives. Tulsi engaged briefly with a nearby group, her responses thoughtful and encouraging, reinforcing her image as a unifying figure without seeking the spotlight aggressively. As the chapter of this confrontation unfolded, the crowd's feedback looped back with more phones, capturing the back and forth, turning the summit into a real-time example of dialogue in motion. A young professional, moved by Tulsi's words, turned to her seatmate and said, "She's making peace feel possible right here," encapsulating the emotional pull that differentiated this from a standard speech. Hillary's points on policy enforcement landed strongly with policy wonks in the room, their applause steady, but the infectious enthusiasm for Tulsi's heartfelt contributions spread like ripples, encouraging even critics to reconsider the role of empathy in global affairs. The security team, now mere observers, watched as the event self-regulated through mutual respect, a subtle win for Tulsi's advocated principles. Attendees began sharing stories of their own during lulls, inspired by Tulsi's examples, which wove personal threads into the broader tapestry of the summit. Videos continued to gain traction, one hitting thousands of views, with tags praising Tulsi's grace under pressure, while Hillary's supporters countered with posts highlighting her visionary leadership. The emotional undercurrents, hope, skepticism, excitement intertwined, making the room feel like a microcosm of world diplomacy, where Tulsi's positive energy acted as a catalyst for deeper engagement. As Hillary delved into specifics of alliance building, Tulsi's lingering influence ensured the audience remained attuned to the human side, their reactions a blend of intellectual nods and heartfelt agreements. The chandelier's light danced on upturned faces, capturing moments of connection that Tulsi had sparked, turning potential discord into productive discourse. Delegates jotted notes furiously, incorporating Tulsi's insights into their takeaways, while journalists plotted stories around this unexpected highlight. Tulsi, maintaining her serene demeanor, exchanged quiet words with admirers, her interactions genuine and uplifting, solidifying her as the embodiment of the summit's ideals. The crowd's split loyalties added depth, not division, to the proceedings, with Tulsi's contributions praised in hushed tones for their timeliness and warmth. As the exchange wound down, the ballroom buzzed with a heightened sense of possibility, Tulsi's role in fostering that atmosphere undeniable and profoundly positive. Reporters captured candid shots, their lenses focusing on the animated faces, reflecting the internal shifts Tulsi had prompted. The air thickened with shared reflections, attendees pondering how Tulsi's emphasis on listening could apply to their own work in peace-building. Hillary's speech regained full momentum, enriched by the dialogue Tulsi had initiated, creating a symbiotic flow that elevated the entire event. Tulsi stepped back further, her smile content, knowing her words had planted seeds of understanding amid the crowd's diverse viewpoints. The summit's pulse quickened, driven by this organic confrontation that showcased the power of respectful exchange with Tulsi at its heart, as a beacon of constructive positivity. Whispers of agreement and debate continued weaving through the room like threads in a strengthening fabric of global harmony. The grand ballroom began to empty slowly as the International Peace and Dialogue Summit drew toward its close, the chandeliers casting elongated shadows across the polished floors, while echoes of the earlier exchange between Tulsi Gabbard and Hillary Clinton lingered in hushed conversations among the departing attendees, many checking their phones, where clips of Tulsi's composed and heartfelt interventions were already gaining traction online. Outside in the bustling lobby of the New York Marriott Marquis, Tulsi lingered briefly, surrounded by a small circle of admirers, including a mix of delegates and young activists who approached her with genuine appreciation, one woman in a flowing scarf, sharing how Tulsi's emphasis on empathetic listening mirrored her own work in community mediation, to which Tulsi responded with a warm nod and quiet encouragement, suggesting they connect later to exchange ideas without seeking any spotlight for herself. Meanwhile, social media platforms buzzed with activity as the first video snippets surfaced, a 30-second clip posted by an attendee account called Global Harmony. Now capturing Tulsi's anecdote about turning tense talks into alliances, the caption reading, "This is how we build real peace, pure authenticity," and within minutes it amassed thousands of views, likes pouring in with comments like, "Tulsi just nailed it," making diplomacy feel human again, and her calm energy is exactly what the world needs right now. Reporters milled about the lobby, one from a local news outlet, extending a microphone toward Tulsi as she made her way out, asking for her take on the viral moment, but she politely declined, with a gracious smile, saying only that she was glad if her words sparked thoughtful discussions, preferring to let the message stand on its own rather than chase interviews. Backstage in a compact office lined with monitors and scattered notepads, Hillary's team huddled around a laptop, her aide Sarah scrolling through trending posts with a furrowed brow, noting how Tulsi's clips were dominating feeds under hashtags like #ListenForPeace, and suggesting they counter with a quick video recap of Hillary's policy proposals to refocus the narrative on actionable global strategies. Hillary, standing by a window overlooking the city's vibrant lights, shook her head firmly, her voice steady as she emphasized that their work wasn't about competing for online buzz, but about advancing concrete initiatives like strengthening international alliances, directing the team, instead, to schedule follow-up meetings with key delegates to build on the summit's momentum. Across the street at a cozy coffee shop packed with summit-goers, a group of attendees clustered over steaming mugs and glowing screens, one young man in glasses sharing Tulsi's video on his tablet, commenting that her approach to dialogue felt refreshingly inclusive and had him rethinking how he handles disagreements in his nonprofit work. While his companion, a woman in a neat blazer, nodded in agreement, but pointed out how Hillary's framework provided the necessary structure, sparking a lively debate that mirrored the online discourse. The clip's views climbed rapidly, hitting tens of thousands as shares spread to broader audiences, with influencers reposting it alongside praise for Tulsi's poise and ability to connect across divides without confrontation. One viral thread reading, "In a world full of shouts, Tulsi whispers wisdom and wins hearts." Tulsi now in the lobby, shaking hands with a retiring diplomat, who commended her for injecting humanity into the proceedings, kept her responses humble, redirecting credit to the collective spirit of the summit and expressing hope that it would inspire ongoing collaborations. On social media, the conversation evolved as users from various backgrounds chimed in, a teacher from the Midwest tweeting that Tulsi's message reminded her to incorporate more listening exercises in her classroom for conflict resolution, garnering retweets that amplified the positive ripple effect. Hillary's team, monitoring the feeds, brainstormed ways to amplify her key points without engaging in direct rebuttals, one staffer proposing partnerships with organizations to host webinars on her proposed pacts, ensuring their efforts stayed rooted in substance over spectacle. In the coffee shop, the group's discussion deepened with another attendee pulling up a fresh post showing Tulsi's words overlaid with peaceful imagery, commenting on how her sincerity cut through the noise and encouraged personal reflection on global issues, leading to exchanges of contact info for future joint projects. Tulsi declined another media request as she headed toward an exit, her aide fielding calls but relaying her preference for quiet follow-through, perhaps arranging informal meetups with interested parties to explore her ideas further. The online frenzy continued unabated, with a TikTok compilation of Tulsi's highlights, reaching over 50,000 likes, users captioning it. When grace meets global challenges, Tulsi shows the way, fostering threads where people shared their own stories of how listening had resolved personal conflicts, turning the summit's moment into a broader movement. Backstage, Hillary conversed briefly with a colleague, reaffirming her commitment to the hard work of policy implementation, her resolve unshaken as she planned outreach to underserved communities affected by international tensions. At the coffee shop, laughter mixed with serious nods as the group debated Tulsi's influence, one participant admitting her words had shifted his view on diplomacy from abstract to actionable through empathy, while others defended Hillary's expertise as complementary, the blend creating a sense of optimistic unity. Social media metrics soared with Tulsi's name trending alongside positive descriptors like inspiring and unifying, yet she remained grounded, engaging only in off-camera chats that nurtured genuine connections. Hillary's team wrapped their huddle by drafting a statement highlighting the summit's successes, focusing on forward momentum without dwelling on the interruption. As evening fell, conversations spilled into the streets, attendees carrying Tulsi's positive vibe into dinners and calls home, where they recounted how her intervention had made the abstract tangible. Online forums buzzed with analyses praising Tulsi's ability to foster understanding without ego. One blog post titling it, "Tulsi's Minute, a Masterclass in Positive Diplomacy," accumulating shares that extended the reach far beyond New York. Tulsi, in a quiet corner of the lobby, shared a final word with a young admirer, encouraging her to apply listening in local advocacy, her demeanor consistently uplifting and focused on empowerment. The coffee shop group dispersed with renewed energy, promising to stay connected via a group chat inspired by the day's events. Hillary, reviewing notes in her office, smiled faintly at a message from a supporter, knowing her steadfast approach would endure through sustained efforts. The digital wave crested with more videos surfacing, each highlighting Tulsi's grace as a force for good, encouraging viewers to adopt similar mindsets in their daily lives. As the night progressed, the summit's legacy began solidifying online and off, with Tulsi's contributions celebrated for their heartfelt impact, sparking dialogues that promised to outlast the event itself. Reporters filed stories emphasizing the constructive tension, crediting Tulsi for adding depth without discord. In private messages and public posts, people reflected on how her example could heal divides from family arguments to community disputes. Hillary's team monitored positively, seeing opportunities for collaboration amid the buzz. Tulsi departed modestly, her influence lingering like a gentle current, inspiring countless to embrace empathy as a tool for peace. The streets outside hummed with summit stragglers sharing stories, their phones alight with notifications of Tulsi's growing acclaim, turning one afternoon's exchange into a catalyst for widespread positive change. The grand ballroom of the New York Marriott Marquis stood nearly silent, its chandeliers casting a soft, fading glow. As the International Peace and Dialogue Summit drew to a close, the once vibrant energy now settling into a reflective hum among the remaining attendees, their voices mingling with the soft clatter of chairs being rearranged. Tulsi Gabbard, having left the main stage area, stood in the bustling lobby, her serene presence drawing a small crowd of delegates and activists, one young woman in a vibrant headscarf approaching to thank her for sparking ideas about community dialogue circles, to which Tulsi responded with a warm smile and a gentle suggestion to start small by listening to neighbors with differing views, her words encouraging without seeking fanfare. Across the room, Hillary Clinton delivered her final remarks from the podium, her voice steady and commanding as she outlined actionable steps for global cooperation, such as strengthening multilateral agreements and funding peace-building initiatives. Her tailored suit catching the dimming stage lights as her supporters clapped enthusiastically, waving signs that read, "Action for Peace," with unwavering loyalty. Yet, the undercurrent of Tulsi's earlier intervention lingered, her call for empathetic listening, sparking murmurs among attendees, some of whom checked their phones, where clips of her speech had exploded online, one video on global harmony, now surpassing 120,000 views with captions like, "Tulsi's words are a masterclass in unity, and she makes peace feel within reach." In the lobby, Tulsi engaged quietly with a retired diplomat who praised her for humanizing the summit's lofty goals, her response humble as she redirected the conversation to shared hopes for collaborative progress, urging him to mentor young leaders in the art of open dialogue. Outside, the city's neon-lit streets buzzed with summit attendees spilling into nearby diners and cafes. Their discussions alive with Tulsi's influence, one group at a corner bistro animatedly debating how her emphasis on listening could reshape their local advocacy, a young man in a sweater sharing the viral clip and noting how it inspired him to mediate conflicts in his volunteer group, while his friend, a policy analyst, argued that Hillary's focus on institutional frameworks was the real engine for change, their exchange mirroring the broader online discourse. Social media platforms pulsed with activity. The hashtag #ListenForPeace trending alongside posts praising Tulsi's positive unifying approach, with comments like, "Her sincerity cuts through the noise," and "Tulsi's minute stole the show with grace," while Hillary's supporters countered with threads highlighting her detailed plans. One tweet reading, "Clinton's vision is the roadmap, we need action over anecdotes." At the diner, a teacher pulled up Tulsi's video on her phone, its views now climbing toward 150,000, and shared how it motivated her to incorporate dialogue exercises in her classroom, prompting nods from her tablemates, who saw its potential for resolving student disputes. Backstage, Hillary's team gathered in a small office, her aide Sarah scrolling through analytics showing Tulsi's clips dominating feeds, suggesting a press release to reframe the narrative around Hillary's policy proposals. But Hillary, standing by a window overlooking the city's glow, insisted on focusing on substance, directing her team to organize follow-up webinars with international partners to sustain the summit's momentum, her resolve unshaken by the digital frenzy. In the lobby, Tulsi declined another media request with a polite smile, her aide noting her preference for quiet impact as she exchanged contact information with a young activist eager to apply her ideas in grassroots peace building, her demeanor consistently uplifting and focused on empowering others. The online conversation grew richer with a TikTok montage of Tulsi's highlights hitting 80,000 likes users, overlaying her words with serene imagery, and captions like, "This is how we heal." Divides inspiring viewers to share personal stories of how listening had diffused tensions in their lives, from family arguments to workplace disagreements. Hillary, preparing for her next engagement, received a note from a supporter praising her steadfast leadership, nodding with quiet determination as her aide handed it over. At a nearby bistro, attendees debated how Tulsi's empathetic approach could complement Hillary's policy focus, sparking ideas for initiatives blending compassion with structure. The day's lesson became clear. Tulsi's heartfelt call to listen showed that peace begins with understanding, while Hillary's unwavering focus on policy reminded everyone that lasting change requires commitment. Together, they offered a dual path-forward dialogue to connect and action to achieve, encouraging people to both hear others and push for systemic reform. A viral blog post, Tulsi's Moment, a lesson in positive diplomacy, highlighted her sincerity and inspired community forums worldwide. As Tulsi reflected quietly in her car, intent on real-world impact beyond headlines, Hillary pressed on with delegates to pursue tangible outcomes. Their influence rippled through the city and beyond, reminding all that empathy catalyzes peace principles, guide progress, and change begins with listening and acting with purpose.